with recent events going on and everything, or current events, the future events really, I suppose, they're about to happen. One thing I was going to say is thinking about certain things and that, with us possibly getting rid of Lois, what are the cars that you've lost but regret losing or miss? What cars have you owned that you miss? That's the best way to put it.
Okay. My GSI, I was definitely gutted about losing that.
Yeah.
Because that was the quickest car I owned, the most fun car I owned, the best sounding car I've owned. It was a full package for me. It may not be to everybody's taste, and most people just go, oh, it was just a souped up, body kitted Vectra, but for me it was a cracking little car. Unfortunately, due to the fact that every time you went out and had fun in it, it would break. And that meant it was basically, I'd say at least once or twice a month it was in the garage. And even though I had a guy who, bless his heart, would do work very cheap on my car for me and everything like that, it was still an expensive hobby taking that one out to have fun.
Yeah, the thing is, she started going wrong at the wrong time for you in your life as well, didn't she? As well, that was the thing, because you got to a new chapter in your life, didn't you? Really, where you were going to be saving for a house, you were going to be starting a new life with your wife to be, and it was. I mean, it was a good time of your life, but not a good time to have a car that is a bit of a brat and starts costing you money hand over fist. A bit like Lois is with us now, really.
Well, the thing was, as a guy who fixed my car, would always turn around after I've had anything done to it, and he'd go, "It's a good solid car. This one is worth keeping hold of."
Yeah.
And then one of the last times I went to pay him for, I think he'd done the thermostat or something like that.
Yeah.
He looked me dead in the eye and went, "Becoming a bit of a money pit, this car, isn't it?" And I thought, right, time to get shot then.
When the mechanic that's making money off of fixing your car starts saying that to you, you do have to kind of wonder a bit, don't you? It's,
and that car paid for his extension, so you know he was definitely sure about it.
Yeah, because it's...
Hi, Pete.
Yeah. Hey, Pete. But it's... yeah, to be honest, I mean, that car... I don't care if other people think it was a souped up Vectra. That was a road-going touring car. And the thing is, I mean, we grew up in the generation of Tonka Touring Car Championship on PS1. We grew up when it was actual saloon car racing at the time, wasn't it? You get the old Mondeos, the Peugeot 406s, the Volvo Estates,
you'd see
Vectras, Cavaliers.
Everyday mundane cars that your parents might own, like a Laguna or a Mondeo or a Volvo 840, 850 or something like that. And you saw them all souped up with livery, absolutely frapping it round tracks, and it was immense. And
to be honest, they may as well have called it a full contact sport touring car, might they? Because the amount of times they'd have tussles is brilliant.
Oh yeah, there was actual proper racing, wasn't there?
Yeah, but that's the thing, the GSI Vectra was the road going version. I don't care what anyone says, that was awesome, that car. And excuse me. And but yeah, it was, I did. To be honest, even though that was your car, that was another car that I did. That's another car that wasn't mine. I kind of fell in love with a bit, like Lois. And when you got rid of her, I was gutted as well. I have to admit, that car was amazing.
Well, my last memory of her was I'd taken several parts out of her, like the Recaro seats. I'd taken the GSI alloys off. I'd taken all the amateur bits I'd put on her off, and the wheels were the last thing to come off. So as the Hiab picked it up, I took the wheels off. So basically, it was almost down to a shell, almost getting put in the back of a truck. And I thought, the car I'd driven 60 odd thousand miles and I had a wicked time in. I was just like, that's how it ends. Sat in the back of a truck next to probably something silly like a K11 Micro or something like that, going off to be turned into a cube somewhere.
Yeah, that's the thing though, isn't it? That is how it ends for all cars, or most cars eventually. Yeah. Other than the ones that kept in the field and rust into the ground and get reclaimed by nature. Yeah. But it's yeah, it is a sad ending. And the thing is, I mean, to be honest, it's strange because I mean, I've had somewhere in the region of about 35 cars. I've been driving for, well, in 2 years, I'll have been driving, 3 years, I'll have been driving for 20 years. Yeah. And in that time, I've had somewhere in the region of 35, 36 cars. And I have scrapped most of them. Most cars have ended their lives with me. But it's strange. It's sort of like some cars you get an affinity with, don't you? Yeah. You just become one with them. And other cars, they are 100% a tool, same as the Leatherman I carry on my belt.
Yes,
It's just
some of them are, yeah, like you say, some of them you get an attachment to, and some of them are just A to B.
Yeah,
they're
that's
just
it.
fit for purpose, and that'll do kind of thing.
Well, that's it, because I mean, to be honest, it always makes me go, if it's been a good car.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we had that Vectra Estate, well, Opel Vectra Estate, Vectra B Estate, the 1.8 Comfort. I think it was imported from Ireland originally, and I knew that car throughout his life, for the last few years of his life, because it came over to where we are, and it was immaculate. Then my wife's cousin had it, and had it as a workhorse, and annihilated it.
Yeah.
Then it got rebuilt a little bit, put back on the road, and then we brought it then. And I mean, it served its purpose. It was ratty in every panel. We wouldn't have got any money for it by selling it. It was nearly up on MOT. It was burning oil. And again, it was a bit like, but that was all I thought about it. I still think back on it now, it makes me smile. I don't really miss it. It was a really good workhorse. It did what it said on the tin. It was a good estate car for tip runs, things like that. But it was a wreck of a car, and it was a fond farewell. It was like, cheers then, old mate, thank you for what you've done and that. But it wasn't really, I wasn't bothered sort of thing. And yeah, it's one of them really. But I would say, I don't know, the cars I miss, I mean, I've had a few that I've sold and a few that I've scrapped. I mean, like, I think about the ones I sold. I had a Peugeot 306 D-Turbo Sport. That was the biggest financial mistake of my life. So that one, when it went, it was, thank God for that. I mean, again, anyone else had one, had a good run with them. You crack on, don't hate me, but my one was a dog. So
to be fair, I think if you hadn't sold that one, you would have smashed it to bits in the basement.
I wanted to take it up to the woods and set it on fire, but my wife wouldn't let me. She said we could make money if I sold it, so I had to sell it. I wasn't allowed to burn it. Otherwise, I'd have burnt it and videoed it to watch it burn.
Yeah.
But it was. Then I had the Golf Mark III, which I swapped with Mark, and I don't regret that.
He went on to love that car more than you did.
Yeah.
What about the grey Cav?
I was going to say that is the one. Again, it was a beautiful car. I love that car. I'd probably still have it now if it hadn't met the end it met. But yeah, my first SRI Cavalier 130, but it was the Mark III 130, the H-Dredge pre-facelift. That thing, it wasn't the quickest car, it wasn't the most practical, it wasn't the most comfortable, but it did everything well. And the way I had it set up, I could outdrive a lot of people, surprisingly, through lanes, things like that. It was a brilliant car.
Well, to be fair, back when you had it, it was a relatively quick car compared to the cars most people start with today.
Oh, definitely. And it was, I loved that thing. Everything about that car I loved. There wasn't a part of it I didn't like. And that was my first love. And I had custom paintwork on it. It ended up in Total Vauxhall issue 80.
Yeah.
If you go to if you wanted to see that, if you have a look where Cavalier Crazy went down to a Rolling Road Day in Plymouth, my car was on there. It has 3 photos of my one on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant car, loved it to bits. But it, yeah, my wife, she borrowed it to go shopping one day, and she caught a concrete pillar in the car park, and because it had custom paint, it had chameleon flake checkers down the side, so in a dull day like today, you wouldn't really see it. It just looked like a gunmetal grey Cavalier. As soon as a light hit it, someone's headlights, the sun, it would go, you get a rainbow pattern and checkers all the way down the side. It was brilliant.
It looked absolutely stunning.
Yeah, my mate Martin Evans did that for me, and it was incredible. But for him to repair it, he'd have had to start from scratch with that paintwork, and it would have cost me over £1,000 back then to have the whole car resprayed, and I couldn't justify it. So I drove it, I carried on driving it for a few more weeks until I brought my black SRI off Ali, my mate Ali, and I sold it to him with a donut car, which was a 1.8 in red.
Yeah.
And
Millie?
Yeah, Millie, and that car was a good little car. I bought that for 50 quid, and I sold him the pair for like 125 quid, I think, something like that, 150 quid.
It's a good deal.
Yeah, and that car, I do miss that car. That car was amazing. It was so much fun, and the regret I've got is not reselling it myself, because I had all the parts there to do it. I just didn't have the knowledge back then, I suppose, like I do now. I wish I'd reshelled that car whilst I had it, instead of just holding on to the SRI and doing nothing with it.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, that engine I had back off it, and that went into my other SRI, and I think that engine's it's still on my drive now, locked in a crate, and I think that engine's got about 180,000 miles on it.
It had a good high mileage, didn't it?
Yeah, and it's still going, but it's yeah, that car I should have done something better with, really. But again, like with you with your Vectra, that costly repair came along at the wrong time, because Zara was pregnant with my first daughter. My wife was pregnant with my first daughter. So the idea of spending all my money on a car rather than things I needed for her was just out of the question. So she had to go. And like I say, I mean, I could have reshelled it without spending too much money if I had the space. Well, that was the other thing. I didn't have the space to do it. I didn't have the driveway I got now or anything like that. So
well, that was the thing. That was the thing with my GSI as well. Is I had this Vectra C whilst I still had the GSI, and the last day I had it insured, I thought, right, I'll take it out for one last cruise, one last drive about. I drove it for, I think I did 6 miles, and the engine, which had always been the most bulletproof part of that car, shat the bed for the first time ever, and I couldn't drive it. I literally had to crawl it home at 20 mile an hour. It wouldn't go above that. I thought, right, I definitely made the right choice replacing this thing. The one part of this thing that I've never had to do any work to is now broken. Good night, sweetheart. Yeah,
it is a shame. I mean, like I say, I think everybody who's a petrol head, I mean, even a lot of people that aren't petrol heads, I mean, you speak to people, like I find it a lot, I'm not being sexist, but I find it a lot with some of the girls now, because they seem to be like petrol heads. They get more attached to the cars. You find the guys that don't give a toss about cars, they might have one, they go, yeah, that was a good car, but they don't really feel any emotional bond. Whereas I find that petrol heads and some girls have that emotional bond. You do speak to some guys who are, and you speak to them and they'll somehow say, oh yeah, I used to have a, I don't know, like a Mini or something like that. I love that little car. I wish I'd never got rid of that car. I miss that car. And the thing is, they become like, I think that's the one thing that non-car people don't really get, is some cars, they do become like part of your family. They go through, I mean, to be honest, like a couple of my cars, actually, because I was going to say one car I actually even miss as much, if not a little bit more, is Girly, my second SRI, the black one. Yeah. Because again, that was taken from me because a girl went up the back of it, hit a set of traffic lights, wrote it off. When I think about it, like I say, I didn't like that car as much as my grey one to look at and everything like that. I mean, I look back on pictures of it now and I think it's stunning. But that car went through hell, heaven and hell with me. I think I'm really gonna miss my E46 when that goes. Actually, because again, that car has been through hell and back with me. That thing took me to my wedding.
Took me to mine.
Took you to yours, but it also took me to my dad and my granddad's funeral. So it's been to the hospital with me with the kids. It's been to the hospital with me. It didn't come with me to pick up the kids, but it's been there. Yeah, the hospital has been to school plays. That car has been through a lot of good and bad times. So I think that's the key to making a car become part of your family. Yeah. And I think because that thing now, that really has cemented its relationship with me, that car. I mean, I loved it anyway, but now it's...
Well, the thing is, if your car does nothing more than takes you to work and takes you to the shops, it is what it is. It's just a car. But if it's there for the good times and the bad times in your life, you know, happy memories made by going on journeys somewhere with the family, or like you say, taking you to sad events or happy events, then it becomes more than a car. Then it's more than just metal and plastic and rubber. It's
it becomes like a living entity almost,
gives it a bit of a soul, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's I do. I love cars, and the thing is, as well, is I mean, to me and you, I mean, again, as well, because we're petrol heads, like today, I mean, thank you for taking me to pick up parts for the 46, but I have to admit, this is a fun way to spend an afternoon. Going on a road trip with a mate, that's awesome. We're sat in a car, one of my favourite places, we're going on a nice long drive and a nice long tour. This as good as it gets with me. Don't get me wrong, I do like going to the beach and everything as well, and things like that with mates, having barbecues and blah blah blah. But
to be fair, for a petrol head, this is the equivalent of going out and meeting a mate for a pint or a coffee, isn't it?
Exactly. It's like, well, I was going to say a slightly cheaper way of doing it, but maybe not with the petrol prices.
So much. The only liquid we have is diesel or petrol, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. So it's brilliant. But yeah, I say we'd love to hear from you guys. I mean, because I just noticed now, I mean, we've been talking for 15 minutes. It's a bit one of our longer chats. Yeah. But yeah, let us know, what were your cars that you missed, the ones that you've had to say goodbye to, or even if they've just gone locked in a garage somewhere. What are the cars that you've had that you miss and you would love to have back?
And also, what do you prefer? Would you rather sell on a car and let somebody else enjoy what you've had and make memories in it, or would you rather be the last person to deal with it and put it to the scrapyard in the sky?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, let us know in the comments below, or also you can also find us on Instagram. I'm wolf_kiff, but again, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. Bit sporadic when we put stuff out on those platforms, but if you just search #wolfkiffworkshop, it'll bring us up wherever we are. But if not, like I say, fire us a comment below. We'd love to hear from you, and we always try and respond to viewers. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully see you in the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.